Let me just start off by saying, and I don't know why I'm necessarily admitting this because you can't smell me through my microphone, but yes, I, did have to resort to wearing women's deodorant, not by personal choice, not because I like smelling like flowers and rainbows. It's just that I forgot to like buy deodorant. I mean, I promise tomorrow I'll start smelling like Manly X, but for now, this will have to do. It beats smelling like armpit. So, that's what happens when you're a parent. You have children, you go out, you're supposed to get something, and you completely forget. So, I suppose the moral of the story is don't have any children. But, anyways, all jokes aside, let's get straight into today's video. And I will say, it's a mixture of everything. It's a little bit of excitement, a little bit of sadness, and everything in between. So Jada Toys did put it for pre-order their newest wave, or I should say their first wave of Scooby-Doo action figures. Really cool. I'm very excited about it. I did grow up watching Scooby-Doo as a kid. I've watched almost all of the animated series as well as the animated films. And I don't even get me started on the live action film, which I think is massively underrated. Not a perfect film, but it's still, I think it goes under the radar most of the time. Now, having said all of that, very intriguing here. Jada Toys has been releasing absolute fire nonstop. We've been getting the Mega Man action figure wave, which has been selling consistently for $20. Great sculpt, great accessories. I personally don't own all of them. I do plan on going back and picking up anything that I still have missed. But for the most part, they're really well designed action figures. As I said, $20 price point. Then we've got the Street Fighter action figure, same thing. Phenomenal sculpt, great articulation, great accessories. We had the effect stands. The action figures were, nearly perfect. I had some issues with Fei Long here and there, but for the most part, I absolutely love the figures, at least the ones that I own so far. And those were priced at $25. What's really interesting here is these particular figures have spiked all the way up to $30, which is what they have them on Entertainment Earth. So I'm not sure if other websites will have them for cheaper. I'm going to keep an eye on that, but I usually gravitate towards Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth, and the affiliate link that I followed had them priced at $30. Plus shipping. Again, really interesting. Does this mean that that's the new Jada Toys price point? Does that mean that they had to pay a little bit extra for the Scooby-Doo license? Or are they, spiking the price up just a little bit because they don't feel confident in being able to sell as many Scooby-Doo action figures? Let's be brutally honest, and I'll be honest about it myself. Like, I really wanted to cover this entire wave, and I want to talk about this particular line from Jada Toys, but simultaneously, I'm kind of afraid to, spend 20 minutes talking about a line that nobody's going to be interested in, or, work on a video so hard and then get, 10 views on it, because it's not a big license. It's not something that's relevant at the moment. I feel like people are gravitating towards other franchises, other licenses at the moment, and so I don't necessarily feel that many people are interested in a Scooby-Doo action figure line. But then again, I could be wrong. I mean, only time will tell. $30 is definitely a very interesting price point, especially for action figures that, obviously they're all going to have brand new sculpt work here, brand new body molds, brand new accessories, but none of them have anything too crazy in terms of articulation. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. As I said, only time will tell. I'm going to try to dig up why it is that this is a new price point. Maybe we can, get some answers through the internet, because, the internet has all of the answers. But anyways, let's talk about the figures themselves. We'll talk about the price point in a little bit here, and how I feel like this is going to be the norm for every single manufacturer out there. All of them are going to, go through a little bit of a price hike. But let's talk about the figures themselves. We have a Shaggy, who will come with an extra head sculpt, a couple of extra hands, a box of Scooby snacks, and then a singular Scooby snack that he can hold. The articulation here is a little bit interesting. He is still getting the double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. Now, I'm not sure about the neck articulation. I can't quite see what's going on there, but if I take a guess here, I'm going to say it's probably a hinge on the ball joint that probably goes into the torso, and then the upper part of the neck that goes into the actual head sculpt. I'm going to assume that one is just a ball joint. Again, I could be wrong. We don't have the action figure in hand. I don't know if there's going to be any cuts at the thigh or the upper thigh or at the ankles. At least from the promotional images, it doesn't appear to have any. And it does have a cut around the chest area, which is kind of weird. It's not a hinge. It's kind of more like one of those weird ball joints at the mid torso, or I should say at the upper mid torso. And look, it's okay. I don't expect great articulation from these figures. If they can get into like decent poses here and there, if they can look like they're running, if they can look like they're about to munch on some Scooby snacks, I'm okay with it. It is Shaggy. He's usually pretty chill and laid back unless he's being chased by the monsters themselves. And then we have the Mummy, which also comes with extra hands and extra head sculpt, as well as a rope accessory. And in terms of articulation, this figure is actually a little bit more interesting than Scooby, although I will say, or sorry, Shaggy, although I will say the body mold is really interesting for Shaggy because they're going for a more screen accurate representation. So the articulation is always going to be very intriguing. But with Mummy, you're actually getting butterfly joints aside from that same mid torso articulation. And then you're still adding the double jointed knees and double jointed elbows. Now, this figure is going to be a little bit thicker, so you have to keep that in mind. It's going to be a beefier and bulkier figure, but same thing. Really cool design. I like the intricate wrapping all around. They did a phenomenal job putting this figure together, and I will say I also love that alternate head sculpt. They did just an overall like really solid job with the first two figures. Then you have the Creeper action figure, which also comes with two alternate hands. It comes with his unmasked head sculpt, and then it comes with the mask that you can display him holding. Now, I will say, same thing, the design is kind of interesting here. I'm going to assume that there's no mid-torso articulation. I could be surprised, I could be wrong here, but I'm going to assume that everything else kind of applies. There is an upper arm cut for this particular figure, no butterfly joints, but still double jointed knees, double jointed elbows. The figure looks really well designed. And I will say, look, the line as a whole, or the first wave that we're getting here, I think gives us an insight into what we're going to see in the foreseeable future. From what I can see, there's some good, there's some bad. Definitely the designs are unique. They're going to be as screen accurate as they possibly can be, and that means that the articulation and the engineer work that goes into these figures is probably not going to be as clean cut as other waves. Sometimes you may be able to reuse body molds, for example, for Street Fighters, for Mega Man. If you're doing Marvel Legends, there may be some bucks that you can just continuously reuse because it makes sense for a number of different characters. With Scooby-Doo, and I think this maybe has something to do with the price point, the body molds may just be unique for every single character in whatever wave it is that we're on. And for this particular wave, all three figures have brand new accessories. They have brand new head sculpts. They have brand new body molds, brand new engineer work that has to go into every single figure. And so, like I said, maybe that has to do with that $30 price point. But there is some bad here. Obviously, the articulation isn't great. And I believe this is something that was present in the Mega Man and the Street Fighter line. There's not going to be a lot of paint. There's no extra shade work. There's no extra line work. It's essentially whatever, piece of plastic is there. That's just the color of the plastic itself. There's no paint, or at least if there is paint, it's probably the entire plastic piece or the entire piece of plastic that is being molded, whether it's the arms or the head portrait or the legs or things of that nature. Now, obviously, the head sculpt usually has a little bit of paint, but for example, the leg, that just might be the color of plastic that they use, and that's just something that's consistent with the Street Fighter line. So at the end of the day, I'm very excited to see these action figures in hand. I'm very excited to actually, have the opportunity to purchase them. But I will say, I understand if there's a lot of people that shy away from this particular wave. $30 is quite a bit of a hefty price point, especially considering the license, as I said, is pretty well known, but it's not at the forefront of people's minds right now. There isn't like a big live action project. The animated series and the animated films tend to go under the radar. Not a lot of people are paying attention to the Scooby-Doo universe. We did have like the Velma Max show that just completely tanked. People absolutely hated it. And so it's kind of an interesting decision here from Jada Toys. Personally, if it cost them this much to put these action figures together, I probably would have steered clear of it. At least with Mega Man, you could reuse a bunch of stuff. With Street Fighter, same thing, you could reuse a bunch of stuff, or at least there was that little bit of cult following where people were willing to spend, the extra, few bucks on the Street Fighter line. Even if they decided to spike that up to $30 for the, the basic action figures, and then maybe $40 for the deluxe, I still think people would follow them just because there is that fan base and that support. Whereas in with Scooby-Doo, they maybe struggle a little bit. But look, I'm very excited to see what the future holds. We need a Fred action figure. We need a Velma. We need a Daphne. We definitely need a Scooby, maybe even a Scrappy-Doo in there. Only time will tell. Maybe a mystery machine later down the road from Jada Toys. It's all very exciting. And I will say that, even though I'm very excited about the Scooby-Doo line, I'm more excited to see what other licenses Jada Toys picks up within the next few years, or within, the next few months, really, because with, DC Multiverse going over, or with the DC license going over to Mattel, I think there's going to be a small little stretch there where it may not be anything new, because Mattel is barely starting to go into manufacturing or production. We don't know how this works. There may be a brief little transition period where it takes them a while to go into production, or there's a grace period where both OMs can be releasing DC products. So, like I said, it's all purely speculative. But I think there is going to be a time where people are just like really hungry for collectibles, for action figures. And I think now is a perfect opportunity for Jada Toys to kind of pounce on those opportunities. But let me know your thoughts down below. Are you pre-ordering any of the new Scooby-Doo action figures? Which one is the one that you're the most excited about? Are you okay with that $30 price point? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys like this type of rambling action figure content, make sure to stay tuned. We do this pretty consistently. I'm trying to get into a habit of doing a video a day. We'll see how that goes. It's incredibly draining, but I love putting these videos together for you guys. So stay tuned, stay safe out there. Make sure to enjoy the hobby. That's the most important part of all this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.